Well, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. My name is Willie Morris, and this is the Talk with William Morris. Yay! Okay. It's been a while. Hi. I know it's been a minute. I have been busy, and I have so much to tell you. But for right now, I am going to focus on what we came here to talk about now. I need to go ahead and switch scene. Okay, there we go. So here is our big issue that we're having with our lovely Amanda Seals here, and the title in the commentary is called Amanda Needs Help. She do. She do. But we're not gonna so much as focus on Shay Shay with this particular live because although I do agree with challenging someone's story, I don't want to focus too much on Shay Shay because for me, Shay Shay pretty much did his job with how he conducted himself with Amanda Seales. So I do not want to focus on Shay Shay at all, but I do want to get to Amanda Seales' big bag of bullshit. And that's what we're going to focus on with this particular live. Now, the main issue that I think a lot of people have had since this interview has came out with Amanda Seales is that Amanda Seales, number one, has lied about the fact that she has autism. She's claimed when she was on Shay Shay that she was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Now, coming from somebody that grew up and that lived with kids that have autism spectrum disorder, she does not display any of the signs that are typically seen with individuals that have that diagnosis. And that's just from personal experience, but I am not a doctor. I don't claim to be a doctor here, and I don't claim to diagnose anybody. But from my perspective and from my opinion, she has no um, autism. That she used that to get sympathy and to get support from her ghouls of supporters. But I'm not really going to dwell too much on that, although that in and of itself is a problem and it deserves to be addressed. It's what happens after that I have a problem with and that I would like to share with you if I can. Let's see. We're going to take this over here. Okay, there you go. Uh-huh. Now, I want to keep in mind that this is after Amanda Seales has done the interview and after everybody has dragged her for the lie that she told while she was on Club Shay Shay. And I want you all to hear and see why this is a problem for somebody like me who has a physical disability, physical and developmental, right? I'm also going to point out to you that cerebral palsy also has um, certain limitations when it comes to the brain and the way that it works. So first, let's go ahead and switch over my screen so I can get you guys over with play. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I'm going to maximize this for you. Okay. So again, I want to point out this is. Oh, and I also want to give a shout out to who is the person that is on this video. Yeah, I'm Stacy. Okay, I want to give a shout out to this individual's channel because this lady had lied about what I perceive to be about the autism spectrum. So here we go. Let's get to it. And then, as usual, I'm gonna stop and pause and give my commentary, and I'm not going to uh, and everything that I think that she said, and where I think she went wrong, and where I think she needs to improve in. Okay, so let's go there.
So now the Class Act, baller alert, yet another black space, because there is such a dedicated effort to degrade me and defame me. It is beyond my scope of comprehension.
I'm gonna stop right there because another gossip site decides to call you out on your big ball of bullshit. It's degrading and defaming you. Okay, you need to explain how. We'll get to that in a minute.
Wants to suggest that because my autism diagnosis did not come from a clinician, that it is not valid.
Yes, that's correct. It is not valid. It is not valid. You lied on Club Station. You don't get to self-diagnose just. You don't get to self-diagnose yourself, Amanda. That's not how this works. Now I've heard from other people that say that they self-diagnosed themselves for various reasons and racism being among them. The problem with self-diagnosing yourself is that A, it's not legal. In terms of you don't get any support for that. B, there is a serious problem because you can't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm autistic. You have to go to a professional medical. You have to go to a medical professional to get your diagnosis. Um, and if you're unwilling to do that, Amanda, then you should probably stop while you're ahead. We're gonna continue.
What's not valid is people speaking on things that they don't know about.
Like you're speaking on things that you don't know about, right? You're speaking on the fact that you have that you have an autistic diagnosis, but you can't even explain what it is. So you're using a non-medical term, which I have to be honest, neurodivergent is not an actual medical term. It doesn't really explain what is actually happening to you. It's another way. It used to be that this was a word that could be used for autism, but that has now shifted to mean that it could mean something in your brain is not functioning, or you have something that is um, within your brain that's not working correctly, or it's wired differently. But I'm okay. Cool. She does not explain, like I said, because she's not a medical professional and she cannot explain what her autism disorder is. So she's banking on the fact that you're stupid enough to fall for a big bag of bullshit. I'm not. And I'm going to explain why here in a minute.
And my autism diagnosis is not for you all to discuss.
Then you should have never put it out there, Amanda. My dear. We wouldn't be discussing it if you didn't put it out there. Let's not forget that it was Amanda who said that she was recently clinically diagnosed. She brought that up in the Club Che Che interview. Shannon did not ask her when she would diagnose. She was the one who said that she would diagnose. And she later on lied and said, "Oh, I've not been clinically diagnosed." So why did you bring it up? You were the one, and then when Shannon asked you, when were you diagnosed? At what age were you diagnosed? You decided to give this long winded tap dancing like a ballerina girl of a big ball of bullshit answer because you knew you would never diagnose. You weren't expecting Shannon to follow up and hit you with the 1-2 punch. So if you wanted that to be the space where you just get to just spew your own bullshit, you should have gone to a an interviewer that would do that. Channing has said several times that he is not an interviewer. He does not possess the skills to be an interviewer. And you goons that are following her big bag of bullshit. Cool. Good for you. I'm glad that you like her. Now, let's continue.
It's not up for your debate.
Yes, it is. Because let's not forget, you were the one that put it out there, dear. Okay? It wasn't me. It wasn't, anyone else. It was you. So what you then don't get to do is you then don't get to tell us that it's not up for us to discuss when it was your mouth and it was your lips that was moving around. Okay? Continue.
And anyone who is speaking on or trying to invalidate diagnosis that comes outside of a clinician is only revealing that they actually don't know anything about autism diagnosis or autism.
Again, neither do you. Neither do you. You can't even understand what autism disorder is because you yourself is not a medical professional. You say a whole lot you talk real smart, but if you break it down, you have no fucking clue as to what you're talking about. And again, I want to point out you were the one that brought it up. Let's continue.
So I just want to once again thank you all for the love. And this is further proof of why we as Black people, particularly in Black media spaces, we are our own worst enemy. And I guess, again, it's just another day of being on the fringe and being in the margins. And anyone who comes in my comments to try to defame me and degrade me, you'll simply be blocked. I, again, will no longer argue what I know with what you think.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop it right there because it's gonna get into some commentary by by this particular content creator, and I do not want to get copyright strike. I only wanted to share what she had said, and so now I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to come to me. Okay. So there are a couple of problems that I see with Amanda Seales. One of them being that Amanda Seales has no fucking clue as to what she's talking about. Number two, I mentioned earlier that I was going to explain what my disability does for me and how I know what she's saying is just word salad and it doesn't really mean anything. It's because she is trying to come up with ways of how to try and blame other people for the words and the actions that she took while she was on this interview. Never mind the fact that it was her own mouth that got her there. You can't have it both ways, dear. So I have something called cerebral palsy. And Amanda dear, I'm gonna go ahead on and tell you this right now. We don't claim you. Because number one, if anyone were to go back into your past, we would know that you have a history of telling big lies and of accusing everyone else of clout chasing and of you being exhaustingly, you being an insufferable know it all. So, with my cerebral palsy, my brain is wired differently from most. It means that sometimes when information is processed into my brain, I will receive it, but I will process it a little bit differently. And because of that, and because of that, I may not always get everything right away. But if you break it down for me further, I will get it and I will be able to understand what you're talking about. It's gonna take me a second to really process what you're saying. So that's the part of my disability. Um, that doesn't excuse, however, and there's the difference here. That does not excuse the fact that does not excuse any of my bad behavior. You see how that works, Amanda? You understand that having a disability does not excuse you being an asshole. Now, I don't know what world or what rock you've been living in, but I would say again, having a disability does not excuse you being a freaking asshole. It doesn't. What it does do, it makes you unbearable. And while I can understand some of your advocacy, you and I are not the same. Amanda Fields is one of these people that I call a fake activist. She doesn't really have the skills or the tools necessary to be an advocate for the community that she thinks she represents. She's very smart. She's very intelligent. She has a master's degree in African American studies. But being intelligent does not grant you the right to be an asshole to everybody else. And you get on here and you start saying things like, I don't understand why I'm unlikable. Okay, mind you, you lied about Myron Rolle, the former NBA star turned neurosurgeon. You called Terry Rice's mom a clout chaser and you doubled down on that. And then you come out with the I'm autistic, and then later on, poof, dub was double talking. And when you got called out on it, and when somebody in the comment section asks you, "Hey, do you really have autism?" Were you actually diagnosed by a clinician? And your response was, "No, no, I wasn't." But somehow that's everybody else's fault for you lying. Okay, cool. Here's the thing, Amanda. Even it would it if you did have autism, that would explain a little bit about who you are. That would give me more insight into who you are. But it does not excuse your bad behavior. And that's where you need to start taking accountability because this entire thing of you crying white girl tears. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Girl, yes you did. Yes you did. Sound like a big old hound dog. Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize cause I didn't know. Girl, 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 girl. Shut up. See, girl, ain't nobody got time. That's the problem with Amanda Field. Amanda Field thinks she is the smartest person that ever walked into the room. And I guarantee you that may be due to how she was raised. She was raised to be to speak her mind, to always say what's on her mind, and nobody in her life when she was a child disciplined her. Okay? Now, I did want to mention something else, and I thought this was very important to bring up, so I'm going to bring it up here. The story about the right racist teacher that Amanda did, I find that to be fascinating for several reasons. Number one, the first reason is because when she was telling this story, I got a sense that something else was up with this. Like, this isn't the whole story. And I got a feeling, and I had this odd feeling that Amanda, from her perspective, was correcting the teacher just to show how smart she is. But she then goes on to say, well, this is the same teacher that accused me of stealing when I wasn't stealing, and said, you both need to go to the principal's office. Okay, I have several problems with Amanda's particular version of the story. Number one, the teacher may have spoken out of turn or may have said something that was not conducive to what you believe it or what you thought it to be. And so you decided you were gonna call her on her BS, right? But also number two, and I know this to be true, most teachers, whether you white, whether you black, whether you Asian, whatever, most teachers do not like being called out by a child. You're still a child here. It is the teacher's job to nurture your curiosity, to nurture you. But I have a feeling that what she's not telling you is that the whole while that the teacher was talking, she was yapping her mouth. That's the part that I have a feeling that she's not telling you. Because you ain't no way in the world are you going to get me to believe that somehow you're this perfect, innocent little child that did nothing wrong. I have this weird feeling that that story was only there for her to prove just how smart she is, and the teacher was was downing her out because of her intelligence. But if you notice, Amanda also said that the issue really wasn't that Amanda Fields was not smart. The issue was I was teaching my class and she was talking. She was yik yakking the whole time that I was trying to talk. Now, if any of you know anything about classrooms and you've been in school, so you know that the teacher will send the two students that are being disruptive in the class to the principal's office to keep the class from going overboard. The teacher has to control what's happening in the classroom. So if you and this other white girl is starting shit in the class, yes, they're gonna send you to the principal's office. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, that is there to make sure that you don't disrupt the rest of the class. The teacher has to maintain control over her classroom. But you're making it seem like the teacher was targeting you for no reason. Okay? Girl, not everybody is out to get you. Some shit is just your fault, and you need to earn, and you need to be willing, and you need to be woman enough to say, this is my fucking fault. I apologize. I shouldn't have done this, da da da. But you do not have the ability to take accountability. You have no introspection whatsoever. That's what's making this whole situation so sad for her. She used the autism claim to try to garner more sympathy, and then, as it turns out that she really wasn't diagnosed with real autism, she then turns around and blames everybody else for the shit that she said. Telling us, oh, well, you don't have the right to debate me and to talk to me about da 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 da. No, baby, it's called being held accountable. And you, like everyone else who are like you, have a problem with being called, with being held accountable for your actions because you were never held accountable in your childhood. And I believe, had you been held accountable in your childhood, had your mom never co-signed your bad behavior, you probably would end up, you probably would turn out to be a very different person. But this is what happens when a 42-year-old who has never, ever been disciplined grows up to be a big old spoiled brat. Without correction, how are you going to grow? Without somebody early on in your life as a child to correct you, how are you going to grow? Now, as I said, guys, I actually have cerebral palsy. I I physically cannot physically walk by myself unless I have a walker. Okay? But again, me being disabled does not stop me from being held accountable for my bad behavior. Amanda Seals has got to grow up, get off the internet, in my opinion, go sit down with a therapist, go unlearn some of her toxic traits, and figure out how she can be a better person because right now, this is not it for her. Getting on the internet, shouting at the world, and mad because you're being held accountable for the shit that you said is not going to work out well in your favor as you get older. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, they're going to be bitter, they're going to be alone. It ain't about that. It's not about them being bitter. For me, it's not about them being bitter. Excuse me, y'all. It's not about them being alone or being bitter or anything like that. What this is about is when you have professional relationships and you are the reason why those professional relationships are constantly being burnt to the ground. The problem is just sometimes it's you, boo. It's you, boo. And you need to go in the corner, go figure out what that mess is, and stop bringing that mess over here. Okay? Amanda may be intelligent. She may be smart. She may be knowledgeable in her specific area. But the minute you step outside of that, is where you get in trouble with people like me. People who are actually disabled. People who have lived their whole life disabled. People who are born disabled. And as a life coach. That's where you get in trouble with me. Because not only are you trying to take a part of my community and making it your own as if that's going to somehow garner sympathy, that's somehow going to excuse your bad behavior, you're dangerous. And quite frankly, I didn't like you even before this. When you was y'all remember when she was on the wheel? She shouldn't have never been on the wheel. And that's actually when I stopped watching the wheel, was because she just started yik yakking about racism and all that other. Like, not everything has to be about racism, sis. And I'm so sick of this narrative being going around about the autism spectrum disorder is somehow because you're not being diagnosed, because you're self-diagnosing yourself, because the doctors are not diagnosing you the correct way. There may be something, and so you're using. I'm sick of this narrative, okay? I'm sick of this narrative. Get your lazy ass up, go to the damn doctor, go to a clinician, and go get your ass diagnosed. If you think something is wrong with you, go to a doctor. And if that's not the doctor that you need to go to another doctor. Go see somebody to help you understand what's wrong with you. I am not a mental health professional. I am not a medical professional. I cannot diagnose you. And even if I could, I would not be able to tell you what was wrong with you. First of all, you need an disciplinarian team, an interdisciplinarian team. That includes your speech therapist, your doctor, okay, and whoever the specialist is that the doctor had utilized to help get you on the to help you understand what's going on. These three people are part of the interdisciplinary team that is going to help you, or help the child understand kind of really what's happening with you. That's going to help suss out the issues and help you plan as you go and as the child goes into the development stages. And sometimes that may require occupational therapy. Sometimes that may require speech therapy. Sometimes that may require specialized medication for you or for the child. But this is what I'm saying. Amanda Field has no fucking clue as to what she's talking about. She has never had an interdisciplinarian team of the three people I just mentioned. She has never been in any of these spaces that she claims she has so much knowledge about that she can speak to them. I have. Do you know how many meetings I've been to in the course of my life of living at this facility that I was at for the first since when I was 8 all the way up to age 18? You know how many meetings I've been to? More than I can count. Okay? So in those 10 years that I was at this facility, I went to every single meeting ever. And they each updated me about my progress, what I needed to improve on, what the educational background was for me, what the goals I wanted to set out for the future, for the next year, and what kind in the therapy that they think I needed to improve on there. Okay? They are all a part of this interdisciplinary team that work together to make sure that I have what I need so that I can be successful, so that when I get out in the world, I'll at least have a little bit of more knowledge to be able to be a little bit more successful on my own. Amanda has never had that, ever. And I know she hasn't because as she starts to try to explain away what autism is, you can tell she doesn't really know what it is. And she doesn't really understand what goes into being diagnosed with autism. And I want to be clear, because I grew up with kids and because I lived with kids that had a variety of different disabilities, I can tell you we all had different needs and different services. But the team that we had, even though they were different, it still stayed the same. Okay? You had your speech therapist, you had your occupational therapist, you had your speech occupational physical therapist. You had your behavior specialist, people that was the specialist that was there to make sure that they can help you get through the day. You had all of these people who were a part of this huge team that were there to make sure that number one that they can really suss out not necessarily what is wrong with you per se, but they can suss out the issues that you may be having and work towards and put into a plan of goals and objectives for you to work on. Okay? That may include putting you on a behavioral program that will help you better understand, that will help you be a little bit aware of your of what it is that you're doing and be a little bit aware of your issues. And sometimes that doesn't always work, but in other times, at least in my experience, it does work and it does help. Because in my case, it was all about teaching me responsibility. But in other clients' case, now I can't really speak to what what their issues was because I wasn't a part of their interdisciplinary team, and I was not a medical professional, and I was not a speech therapist. I didn't really have all of the knowledge. But there were other children that were on a behavior plan, and they had other goals and objectives that they had to complete as well. And this is speaking from living and from being inside of a facility with children who were not like me, but had different disabilities and who we were all in the same age range, right? So because of this, it allows you to see things from the inside out. And Amanda Fields, I can guarantee you, has never had an interdisciplinary team ever. That's why when she speaks, she talks in circles. because she knows that she doesn't have the qualification to speak on these issues. And that's sad to me. So here is going to be Amanda's main problem. She is not going to like the fact that people who have been actually not just diagnosed but has to live with autism and a variety of other different disabilities and other intellectual disabilities that may arise from that, she does not she's gonna end up having to face the music. I also, before I get out of here, want to show you guys something because I think this is very important. So let me look this up. Give me just a second, y'all. Okay. Since she said that she is neurodivergent, and people are using this term now to describe how their brain function and how they think they work. Um, Let me say this. As I said earlier in the live, neurodivergent is a non-medical term. So we're gonna read this right here. It says neurodivergent is a non-medical term that describes people whose brain develop or work differently for some reason. This means that the person has different strengths and struggles from people whose brains develop or work more typically. While some who are neurodivergent have medical condition, it also happens to people where a medical condition or diagnosis hadn't been identified. Okay, so this can be correct. Now, the possible differences include medical disorders, learning disabilities, and other conditions. The possible strengths include better memory, being able to mentally picture three-dimensional 3D objects easily, the ability to solve complex mathematical calculations in their head, and many more. Okay, neurodivergent isn't a condition, it's not a medical term. Instead, it is a framework. In other words, it is a way to describe people using words other than normal and abnormal. That's important because there is no single definition of normal for how the brain works. Now, I just told you guys earlier that because I have cerebral palsy, my brain works differently. I process information a little bit slower than most, right? But again, that doesn't mean that because my brain works differently, that gives me the excuse to do what Amanda is doing, which is backpedaling, pussy popping, blaming everybody else, and lacking accountability and being a damn narcissist and having narcissistic traits. Now, this right here would put me under the condition of being a quote unquote neurodivergent. But because I actually know why I am the way that I am, and it isn't because I'm trying to be neurodivergent, trying to be cool here. Okay? Everybody brain functions differently, and Amanda is using this as a way to excuse away her bad behavior and the things that she has done and said, instead of taking accountability, instead of being, and instead of having some type of introspection about herself. She's using this as a way to say, see, this is how I am, and everybody just doesn't like me because of it. No, boo. It's because you're mentally taxing, and you, and I'm sorry. Like, girl, stop. Okay? You're just mentally taxing. So, yeah, Amanda Fields has no idea what she's talking about. She's not on the spectrum. She doesn't have neurodivergent. This is all, in my opinion, all a tactical way for her to garner sympathy and garner support, and then turn back around. And when the interview doesn't go well for her, turn back around and say, "See, look, they made me look bad because of my neurodivergent, or because I'm autistic, and I shouldn't have to explain myself to man." Not realizing that you don't get to use any of these terminologies as an excuse for your bad behavior. Just like when it came to the image parties, guys, she sat there and said that she was invited to the image party by Jesse Williams. She told that story about how she was no longer protesting Issa Rae anymore, and that her and her Issa Rae publicist got into it. We don't know what. Okay, if you notice that, and she also mentioned, I'm gonna get back to the Issa Rae story here in a little bit, but I gotta point this out as well. She also mentioned, guys, that when she was in college, none of the girls liked her either. There were, I think she said there were 7 girls that were all in a room, and they all said they didn't like her within 2 weeks. And I said this on Willie B's podcast. Shout out to Willie B, because she said she's all about creating community. She's all about this. Well, girl, if you're all about creating community, how come you get kicked out of more communities when? How come you get kicked out of more communities? And when I say more community, this girl has been involved in some of in great stuff. But she has been kicked out of the very community that she claims she creates. Sometimes you have to look at yourself and say, "Self, am I the problem?" And self will look back at you and say, "Yeah." The first step to solving a problem is admitting that you have a problem. And baby, she can't even do that. So getting back to the story at hand about Miss Thang Thang talking about from is she was no longer gonna protect Issa Rae. Now from all that I've gathered about Miss Issa, she don't seem like the confrontational type. Now, that's just my personal opinion. She don't seem like the one that gonna go out of her way to confront nobody. But the issue that Amanda keeps saying is throughout this interview with Shay Shay is it boils down to Vanessa Anderson, who is a race publicist, and Amanda, because they both work for her. Okay? It's saying, well, what y'all two got going on, I'm staying out of. Okay? I'm out of my business on that. Okay? And when it got to the image party, and she was invited by Jesse Williams to go to this image party. Y'all, I need to say this. When she got to the gate, she kept saying that there was this white passing Mexican Latina girl. Which I'm like, girl, how do you even know she's white passing and Latino? You need to stop with these racist terms. Okay, whatever, cool, whatever. We gonna continue. The girl told her, "You can go in. You can." The girl told everybody else, "You can go in. You can go in. You can go in." And then she got to Amanda and said, "You're not on the list." Amanda said, "What you mean I'm not on the list?" She said, "You're not on the list. Sorry, you can't go in." Okay, now according to Amanda, she said, "Well, I was about to leave because I was not going to sit there and take all of this, right?" So Jesse said, "You know what? Let me go in and figure out what's going on." So then another person, I don't know who this person is, somebody works for Janet Jackson, came out and said, "Hey, girl," and she said, "Where you going?" Um, they said, and Amanda said, "Well, I'm going home because they're telling me I'm not allowed to go in." And they said, "Well, no, 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 come on back here." And the girl at the door said, "No, no, no, she is not allowed to go in. Her name is not on this list. I'm sorry." So according to Amanda, she was about to leave again, and then a third person comes out and says, "Hey," now like I said, I don't know none of these people. I'm just recounting, paraphrasing what she told Shannon and us. According to her, she was about to leave. She's not gonna stand there trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, cool. So she's about to get up and leave. Then a third person comes out and says, "Hey, girl, where you going?" She said, "Okay, I'm about to leave because they're telling me I can't get in." By this time, whoever this person was is apparently one of the planners of this party, and says, "Well, no, they're not going to be able to stop you because I'm one of the planners of this party. So you getting in." She says, Amanda Field says that the girl then tries to grab her. Okay, and apparently she yanks the girl off, which, mind you, she was not supposed to be going into this party in the first place. Okay? So she goes into the party, sits down, and security walks over to her and nicely and politely, according to her, this is a white security guy about Shannon Sharp's side. And according to her, asked her politely, "Hey, I'm sorry to do this, but we're gonna have to ask you to leave." She said, "Well, why I got to leave?" He said, "Well, I don't know. Let me go find out." This is all according to her. If you notice, If you're noticing how I'm telling this story, this is exactly what happens when you're trying to manipulate certain events that happens in your life to suit a particular narrative. And that's exactly what she's doing here. This girl knew that she was not supposed to be at this party. The girl at the front gate told her she wasn't supposed to be at this party. And now you're trespassing into this party that you were told not that you're not supposed to be going into. But apparently you was gonna leave anyway. But you was drawn back in by these other three people. It's weird to me how when the lady told you no the first two times, you kept saying, I can go to the party. But by the third time, by the third person coming out, you decide I'm gonna go on anyway because they can't stop this person. They wanted the planner for the party. That's weird to me. That tells me that you had no intention of leaving anyway. You were going to get into this party one way or the other. So by the third time somebody comes out and finally you decide you're gonna trespass into this party, girl, your story don't be your whole story is falling apart before your eyes. But okay, moving on. So the security guard comes back a second time. Now again, this is the white guy, apparently one of the nicest guys you've ever met. And the guy says, ma'am, I'm sorry to say this the second time, but you're gonna have to leave. She says, why have who says I have to leave? She This is where the manipulation becomes real. She said the security guard told her that it was Vanessa Anderson, that told them that you cannot be here. Okay, if y'all don't know what just happened, let me break it down. Because there's a part two to the story, and we gonna get to it. But let me break it down. What Amanda Seals just did by name dropping Vanessa in the middle of this story is letting us know that she didn't like Vanessa, but didn't know why Vanessa didn't like her. It said that she was lovable, and she's lovable, you know. No, baby, that's a manipulation tactic. That may be what you consider to be your experience, but baby, that's a manipulation tactic. Okay, what she just did is a manipulation tactic. Why? To showcase later on why Izza didn't protect her. Okay. So this time, according to Amanda, now again, this is all coming from one person and one person only, which is Amanda Field. There ain't nobody else that is verifying this story. So we don't actually have the full story of what actually happened. We only have her side. So according to her, as she was about to pivot to leave, shit went down. And so she decided, well, I'm going to cuss you out on the way to the door, on the way out my door. But she said, and I thought this was interesting. She said that it was one of the brothers. It wasn't the white guy, but it was one of the brothers that cussed her out. It was one of the brothers that cussed her out. Now, I find that to be interesting. So The white guy never cussed you out, but one of the brothers did, okay? And said that you need to F and lead and all this other stuff. I said, okay, this is interesting, but okay. And like I said, that she said that she was pivoting to leave. I guess the white security guard thought that maybe he was gonna do something, that she was gonna do something. And so he puts himself in between the brother and Amanda. And according to Amanda, his chest bumped up against her, and she almost flipped back a little bit. Okay, this is the damn setup. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all. When a white security guard came back the second time and told her she has to leave and told her that it was Vanessa Anderson that told her she has to go, she said, "Well, Vanessa needs to come on and tell me to my face." At this point, this is where your entitlement begins to show. Because if somebody is telling you they don't want you at their party, your ass got to get out from underneath that damn party. If I am going somewhere where and this is the part of the man that feels so deceptive, is that she never tells you what she did that made Vanessa not like her. Neither in all of her story that she told Shannon, you did not hear 1 ounce of accountability on her end. It's everybody else's fault except me. Now, okay, girl. That I got a problem with. Hmm. So, moral of the story is when it comes to Amanda Seals just go away. Just go away. Go off the grid. Go to Africa. Since you're so pro black, go to Africa. Go be around nature. Go be calm. Don't be on the internet. You know, go do some introspection. Go speak to Miss Ayana Van, and she'll get you together real quick too, cause she can see past your bullshit. If I can see past your bullshit, and I'm disabled, girl, I know Miss Ayana can see it, and she's way older than me. Got way more experience under her belt. So this girl plays victim. She plays the white girl tears when it's convenient for her. When shit don't go her way, she plays the white girl tears. When shit is not going, when this interview didn't go for her, she tried to blame Channing for being a terrible interview. But the problem is, boo boo, is that you let the cat out the bag. Sorry, but at some point you're gonna have to take responsibility for your own action. Now, I want to address the other elephant. I want to address the other thing too. Amanda Seales likes to tell people that she is a social justice advocate. And as I told y'all earlier, to me, she is a fake activist. What do I mean by that? I mean, she has no real power, no real influence outside of the goons that follow her and that have no critical thinking skills and that lack any kind of question that she may ask. Now I don't know why that is, but I don't know what that is, but okay. But being an activist for me, because I'm on the ground most of the time and being a disability activist, one of the things that I can tell you is, and I want to be clear, Amanda is a celebrity. She's a celebrity. So, what do I mean when I say she's a fake activist? I mean two things. Number one, she has no real power to meaningfully affect change in a positive way, and she's using her power to only advance one agenda, and that is herself. When you are an activist, your number one responsibility is not to yourself, but to the entire community that you represent. And number two, she cannot affect real meaningful change through legislation because you have to be in workable relationship and proximity to people who are in positions of power and authority. And this girl is conflating the activist and the professionalism, and they are not mutually exclusive. You don't need to wear your activist hat all the time. You do need to show some decorum when you're in the room with other people who have the power to make decisions about your life. And seeing as I just recently came back from Washington, having learned this lesson myself, and when I say Washington, I mean Washington, D.C., you will never go anywhere, you will never go in any of the spaces in Washington, D.C. Why? Because your behavior is what's driving so many people away from the professional relationship that you once had. You're being labeled difficult because that's who you are. You are difficult. And you're trying, as I said in the Really Be podcast, is you're trying to be the next Monique. And the problem is that you're nowhere near Monique's level. You don't have Monique's resume. And the reason why she was labeled difficulty was based on a lie that Tyler Perry told. And see, here's the thing, darling. Monique has receipt to back up everything she said. You don't. And you wonder why people don't like you. Girl, if you don't look in the damn mirror until you can get some decorum about yourself, you will never, ever, ever be invited back into those spaces ever again. Ever. You're beautiful, but that stank personality is the one thing people will not be listening to you do. There's the difference between me and Amanda. I'm an activist, but I have close interpersonal relationship with the people that I work closely with. And they are some of my closest friends, both professionally and personally. But if I had not gone to Washington, D.C. with the experience that I now have under my belt, I would have never learned this lesson. And that takes some powerful self awareness, a lesson in a lesson that I think Amanda needs to learn. Because if you want to maintain the relationship that you've lost, you need to start by proving that you're not an insufferable human being. That it's not hard to be around you. And that is why Amanda Seales cannot get any of the black spaces. Because she's insufferable. She thinks she's a know-it-all. She talks too much. And y'all perceive that as being real. No, that's not being real. That's being an insufferable know-it-all. It's being somebody who thinks they know the answer to everything, to every question that's ever been asked. And when you're someone like an Amanda Seales, you cannot be around that kind of personality. When you're someone like an Amanda Seales, it is hard to be liked because you've been told all your life that you're great. I want to put something else out there. That's the same thing that happened to me. I was told I was great. I was told I was excellent. I was told I had all of these gifts and all of these skills, which I do. But later on, that turned me into an asshole as I grew up. I still had my friends. I was still very much likable. But those behaviors that Amanda displayed on Shannon Sharp is the exact behavior that I suspect that was displayed while she was on the set of Insecure, while she was in the classroom with her so-called racist teacher, in her professional relationship with other black media professionals. You're intelligent, Amanda, but your stank ass personality is the reason what's keeping you away from all of these people. So, darling, I'm gonna tell you what they tell Monique. Get the fuck over it. Boo hoo. They don't like you, so fucking what? Get over it. Learn to love yourself sometimes. Learn to be appreciative of who the fuck you are sometimes. But don't love yourself enough where you think you're the only person on the planet that has all the fucking answers. That's the one thing people don't like is an insufferable human being who cannot keep their trap shut. All right, y'all. Well, I am gonna get out of here. It has been an hour and 26 minutes, y'all, and I'm about to go to bed because I'm tired. Okay. Thank y'all so much for letting me get this off my chest, and I pray and I hope that y'all have enjoyed my commentary on this. Don't forget to comment, like, and share the video. Also, subscribe And when you hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when I will be on my next video. That may not be for a while, but yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.